Good morning, everyone. Without much more introduction, I'll just go how to set up a video urodynamic or a urodynamic setup for adults and children. There is no actual in principle difference, but needless to say, for the children, it needs to be a little bit more congenial environment. I would add music. I would add some nice posters and less scary faces. So for uroflometry, we need a small toilet-like space, or better still, if you have an existing toilet, to give the most natural feel of a toilet. It's preferable to keep it separate and independent from urodynamics machine for obvious reasons. To keep it clean, because otherwise it can be a source of infection. A dedicated sanitation staff therefore is a must. It's a good idea to do a test run first thing in the morning, although at times it is difficult, and the most of the imported machines, they have self-calibration, so generally it is not required. But at times it is said that you, after every 10 voids, you calibrate the machine. You can just pour 300 ml at physiological speed, about 15 ml per second, and check the reading of the machine. I'll come to the ICS guidelines on that. Parts of the uroflometry, you have base plate or transducer. Various types are available. Most commonly, gravimetric or rotating discs are available in the market. And out of these, most common is gravimetric. There's a beaker, funnel, a comfortable seat. And then either you have a basic uroflometer, which with no a lot of customizable software. You have a processor, then you have an automatic printer. These are very cost effective. Practically useful, but the problem is that if there is any error, so apart from the last reprint, you don't have any data left. Then you have more sophisticated machines, whether wired or wireless. So it's good for record keeping. You can post-process the data. The problem is sometimes we do face software error while doing the test, or some Bluetooth connectivity issues. So that can lose the data. So ICS has clearly defined the accuracy rates for uroflometry rates. It should be within 1 ml per second error. The accuracy of voided volume should not be more than 2 ml or 3%, whichever is more accurate. These are the other parameters. The bandwidth of flow measurement should be between 1 and 5 hertz. Now, we can buy any machine, like Indian machine or imported machine, whatever our pocket selects, but it should meet these basic minimum criteria. Then post-void residue is obviously an essential part of your uroflometry measurement. Now, it could be either a dedicated bladder scanner. There are multiple imported ones are available, but these are prohibitively costly. Or now some Indian machines are also available. Or if you have in your setup a small ultrasound machine for multiple purposes, you can use the same machine for measuring the post-void. I would emphasize here that unless you are planning to calibrate the patient for some reason, please don't use catheters for measuring post-void residue. That would be really invasive, unless it's really necessary. After that brief thing about uroflometry, multi-channel urodynamics. The size of the room is important. The facilities of the inside the room are important to consider when we are planning a new room. And approximately 10 by 12 feet, in my experience, is a bare optimum. Plus an attached toilet should be there in a urodynamics machine. You should have a good space for urodynamics cart, a printer cart, a urodynamic chair if you have, a cupboard or a maturation chair in addition, a wash basin area, and for a trolley. Printers, a laser color printer. If you have a lot of money, you can go for a laser color printer, because a report should be multicolored for a good feedback to the reader. Or in our setup, we use ink tank color printer, which is very cost effective for a large volume printouts. So these are cost effective in the long run. With a fluoroscopy, if you plan a video urodynamic study, then you need an extra space, not only to keep the fluoro machine, but also to be able to roam it around in the room. So 15 by 15 feet is a bare optimum. Preferred would be 20 by 20 plus a space for attached toilet. Now, coming to the urodynamic chairs, So again, if you have money, you can go for a carbon fiber made dedicated urodynamics machine, which can give a lot of positions, or including standing to completely lying down and anything in between. But they may cost up to 2.5 million rupees. So that's a lot of investment. So one can go for small, customizations like a wooden chair or a plastic chair, or maybe a stool over which the C-arm can be rotated. The patient can squat and void or stand and void. So all these things are possible. So we have to be intelligent in trying to plan urodynamics machine. Even if you have money for fluoro, but an extra 2.5 million rupees would be a lot of money. There should be curtains. Needless to say, when you open the room and then suddenly you see the patient cart is not good. So ample curtains, ample plugs, ample UPS connections, because there should be uninterrupted power supply. You don't want your study to just wash off just because the light went off. There should be a clean drainage and a sewage drainage connection. Sewage drainage, obviously, if there is an attached toilet. So even if there is no attached toilet, it should be very close by so that the patient doesn't have to run for a long distance. Then most of us don't have urodynamics for obvious cost issues and space issues. And myself, all my life, I've used cystograms separately for want of availability of video urodynamics. But with experience, I've not felt the need or want of a video urodynamic machine, because one, it is cost effective, and potentially it is even better because you are doing a catheter-less voiding study. So that that would be a bit better, a better resolution. Patient is more comfortable without all the paraphernalia attached. So may actually void in a better way. But there are some problems. Obviously, it's inconvenient for the patient, two separate locations, two separate catheterizations. Then you have to cognitively fuse the two images. You're not having a real-time imaging. Then you have to coordinate with other departments. You don't want the patient to do urodynamic study wait for going for an MCUG. So a better coordination is required. But in my experience, and had a discussion with a lot of stalwarts in the field, it does not really matter as long as you can give good interpretation of these two combined. More than, in my experience, more than whether you have a video urodynamics or a separate MCUG, a proper positioning of the C-arm compared to the patient's voiding position is more important. Like end-on is seldom a good position. A 45-degree or somewhat oblique position so that entire urethra is visible properly is needed. So from the urodynamics room, coming to the catheters. So for a basic minimum, we need at least 3 channels. One is for, even if you are not doing an EMG, we need for flow a P abdomen and a P recycle. So either you may have a dedicated cystometry catheter. If you have money, you can single use it, or you can actually re-sterilize them. These are very good quality catheters. Throwing them away after one use seems not good for the bladder catheters. Then you have balloon rectal catheters, or you could use 2 infant feeding tubes. There is nothing wrong with it. So, for example, if you use 2 5 French catheter feeding tubes, it does not mean that you are obstructing the urethra a lot, because it is not equal to 10 French, the 2 5 French. It is basically approximately equal to 7 French. So 2 5 French is equal to 7 French of catheter in the lumen. Or if you have a 1 5 and 1 6, then it's approximately 8 French. You can use, if it's available, you can use 4 French catheter. You may remove one catheter in the voiding study, although it has its own problems. So if you don't have money for these fancy double lumen catheters, it's not lost. Then rectal catheter, obviously you don't use a single use company provided catheter. You can easily take a bigger, like 9 or 10 French infant feeding tube with glove finger, fix it properly and make a small cut, and it works as well, actually sometimes better than the customized the company made catheters, and very cost effective, and there is no problem of hygiene, just use and throw. Then air charged, very less commonly used in India because of the prohibitive cost. When I was in Middle East, we used to use that. because then you don't need, you just open it. If it's not functioning, just throw it away. And but these are not practicable in our society. Although they do give a lot of, I mean, they're very convenient. There is no water mess. You don't have to zero it to the superior border of pubic symphysis, etc. But very expensive. Then if you're, so this is how the minimum graph looks like. If you're a person doing the urethral pressure profilometry also, so you need additional lumen catheter, like a triple lumen catheter. There, it is difficult to save cost. The only way is you re-sterilize properly. We do re-sterilize using LTSF or plasma, whichever is available, after proper mechanical cleaning, and these go on and on without causing any problem. And you can use a puller, whether it's an electromechanical puller, or you can use your own hands at 1 centimeter pulling. You can add more dots to the these UPP catheters. UPP catheters typically come with 1 centimeter marking. You can add with the indelible ink 0.5 centimeters. You can pull out. That's how you can do it. Puller at times it's very convenient for the patient because it gives a lot of privacy. Otherwise, it's at times it is inconvenient also because the catheter may dislodge, and it can be a problem. It's difficult to sterilize the puller at the point where you're attaching the thing to puller. And this is how the minimum urodynamics will look like. You need to have 1 extra channel, so you need to have 3 pressure transducers. Then only you can do a good urethral pressure profile. This is a triple lumen catheter. Unfortunately, we cannot save cost here because these are highly specialized triple lumen catheters. You can use that. Double lumen catheters are also available, but in my experience, triple lumen catheters are the best possible catheters for this thing. You have minimum size 7 French catheter available from MMS. It's quite soft and gives nice readings. Air charge catheters are also available. Again, the cost is prohibitive, and these are slightly stiffer catheters, slightly more potentially traumatic to insert into patient, and particularly we are talking about a child. It will be difficult for a child to accommodate these big catheters. Then coming to EMG activity, EMG is essential for a pediatric urodynamic practice. The problem with EMG is that their calibration is very difficult. A lot of times they give artifactual readings. They go bad. You need a lot of maintenance. But if you can do that, then it's a good addition to your urodynamic setup. A concentric needle electrode would be ideal, but it is not ideal because it's a lot of painful, very difficult to place it in the right place, and most of the time surface electrodes do the job. So coming to the number of channels, so you have one irrigation pump, you have 2 or 3 transducers for pressure measurement, you have 1 EMG if possible, and of course a uroflometer. All these are assessed, and the last one, which is video. So the minimum would be P abdomen and P cycle, and a uroflow. Definitely should add EMG if possible. If video is possible, nothing like it, but otherwise MCU is almost as good. And lastly, if you have UPP, you can add 1 extra channel. So for accuracy, IECS has given good guidelines on it. So it should be the pressure should be within 1 centimeter accuracy, or 3% of the measured value. It should be whichever is better, whichever is more accurate. The ranges are written, and the sample rate of volume measurement should be 2 hertz or more. So all these, I don't have to cram it up because these are available on the ICS website. For calibration, again, these imported machines are automated calibration machine, but at times it's good to keep checking. For the water-based system, it's very easy. You just measure it, just take the water column up by 50 centimeter and see that what your machine is showing. That would tell you whether it's well calibrated or not. So for setting up a study, maintaining sterility, maintaining privacy, communication. I think making the environment congenial for the child, talking, trying to allay the anxiety, although it's not possible to make it zero unless the patient is anesthetized. So now we should make a lot of effort in that. Shape the genitals and perineums for adults. Maintaining sterility while placing the bladder catheters, it cannot be overemphasized. Placing balloon in the rectum, make it sure not in the anus. Fix the catheters properly, as close to the orifices as possible. If UPP catheter is available, either if the puller is available, fix it to the puller. Otherwise, with hand, it's perfectly fine. Then lastly, zeroing and flushing and balancing. So 0 to the atmosphere, and then so first flush properly, 0 to the atmosphere, and then connect it to the transducer at the superior border of pubic symphysis. So to conclude, it is an essential diagnostic tool for comprehensive low unit tract urology practice. A proper planning of setup is desirable with adequate space, adequate drainage, approachable clean toilet, uninterrupted power supply. Investment optimization is prudent, like disposable UDS catheters versus feeding tubes, air charged, or with transducers, UDS chair versus micturition chair and trolley. Currently using micturition chair and trolley, so it works perfectly fine. A video or a separate MCUG, and a radiolucent expensive UDS chair versus wooden or plastic chairs. So that is up to you, but without compromising sterility, privacy, and results. Antibiotics are not essential adjunct to the urodynamics, which we often give an excuse that we don't have that much of cleanliness. That's why we're giving antibiotic. So actually, we should work on it. We should improve our sterility rather than giving more antibiotics. Except for there are few incidences where you have to, but most of the time it is not required. Thank you very much.